afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the last PBA at noon for 2020. I'm Paul Benwell, and I'm joined by my colleague, Sophie Caesar. Before we get started, we would like to take a minute to thank all of the great companies who have presented, as well as everyone who has attended our virtual webinars. 2020 required us to pivot and to put our 5 à 7 in-person cocktails on hold, but we hope to see you all again in 2021. Everyone be safe and be careful, and let's make it happen. Today, we are delighted to welcome back Diagnos, listed on the TSX.V ADK. For those of you who don't know Diagnos, they are a leader in artificial intelligence and healthcare technical services, including algorithm development, data analysis, and image processing since 2001. For those of you familiar with the story, they have been very busy the last 6 months. And here to share those developments with us is André Larente, President and CEO. Nice to see you again, André. Please feel free to start
Thank you very much.
the presentation, and we'll have some questions for you at the end, I'm sure.
Okay, so before I start, I just want to wish everybody a happy New Year and a happy Christmas. 2020 is going to be behind us very soon, and then one of the folks that is very happy that it's going to go away. So let me start. I'll share my screen. What I want to do is really give you an update on where we are and where we stand today. And at the same time, I guess I'll be able to respond to questions if you have any. So we are redefining the digital healthcare. All these companies are using artificial intelligence, and we're one of them. We've been in it for a long time, as you know. And wasn't for this pandemic, we would be a lot further ahead, but the future looks very bright. So for the ones who don't know me, that don't know the company, our share price is around 60 cents, plus or minus two pennies. We have about $1.5 to $1.6 million in cash. So we're not looking for any raise or looking for money. We are well funded for the next 12 months. Our expense rate is about $125,000 a month. So when we have revenue, that expense rate goes down to give us the burn rate. So shares, 64 million, stock options. We have very little debt, $125,000, and probably about 4 million warrants left outstanding total. So we have a market cap of $38 million. So what we have done at Diagnos is build algorithms to actually do detection, or it's a medical test to do detection of vascular changes in the retina. And why we did that is because it affects a lot of different diseases. So you can see through the eyes a lot of the status of the diseases that people have in terms of cardiovascular, diabetes, and others. So we have specialized our algorithm to do the early detection of vascular changes in the retina. We have regulatory compliances as we need to. So we are ISO. We just went another recertification. You will see that announced in the new year, where we're just waiting for the certification papers. We have Health Canada. Because we kept our ISO, we have Health Canada. We still are US FDA. We're cleared on the 90% of our technology. HIPAA compliance for security in the US, CE mark for Europe, Mexico, and Saudi. So we have those clearances too. And we will have others this year. So what we've done is really more than a concept. Using artificial intelligence, using the technology was very important when we studied these 400,000 patients that we did in the past. So we went to 16 countries. We did a lot of patients. And the idea was to make sure that the technology that we have, or what we call our medical test, works with any culture out there. And we were able to successfully do that. So what we do is we automated the detection and also the triage of patients, diabetic patients that are ill. So by taking a picture of the retina, we can actually see the status of the illness through the retina. So the retina is the membrane in the back of your eye. So today we have a state-of-the-art technology based on deep learning. We have a very, very high sensitivity and specificity for the medical world. And also the test from an analysis point of view only takes 2 seconds per eye to analyze about 20 different parameters that we look for in the retina. So this automatic detection of anomalies of the retina is done through a picture. So it's a picture of the back of the eye. And the validation that we use in terms of the success rate is the AAO grading sheet, so the American Academy of Ophthalmology. So this automatic detection and triage help reduce the healthcare cost that the governments have. As you know, we were actually very focused on governments, but I will come back to that. So the automatic detection and triage works extremely well. So this is a picture that if you're not monitored properly, and I'll go back to this image just before, you can see on the right side. So these are real retina pictures, and you can see the illness on the bottom part, the bottom image. So when you get to that stage, what you want to do is make sure that you don't get to this stage. So these black dot that you see in front of you, this is on your vision center. There is no treatment to get rid of them. There's no treatment to cure it. So the idea here is to make sure that we catch these dark spots or the disease before it hits your vision. I'll just go back to this picture. As you can see here, you can see the image. So here is where you see the macula. This is actually where you see. So and then the light goes here to the optical nerve that goes into your brain. But you can see that we take measurements to circle this area to protect it. We also calculate the different diseases to this, and the closer you are inside of this circle, the more severe is the disease. So we want to make sure that we catch this before it ends up like that, and you will go blind at this stage. The deployment of our technology, we have 4 ways to deploy. So we have a mobile environment that we've done in many different countries around the world. And it happens when there's no support, physical support in hospitals and clinics. So we have a van, we have the technology inside of it, and then we can actually go from town to town and give accessibility to everyone in a specific country. A managed environment, we actually provide the technology, we provide the technician. A standalone environment is what we do in the US in terms of providing this to clinics and hospitals, where we can provide the technology platform, also the camera. And the last one is a software environment only. This is really one of our key focus right now, because the hospitals are closed for diabetic patients to go in. So we actually work with optometry stores that already have equipment and technicians. So we just provide the technology platform. So I don't have a forecast for you, but what I decided to do is to show you the clients that we have today. So we have the CHIM, very large hospital in Montreal. We have Devlin Group, and that are an optometry group in Mexico. 2020 now is an optometry group in the US. Chaparral Group is about 27 clinics in California. Those clinics are running at very, very low capacity right now in California due to the virus. Novartis, everybody knows, we're still working with them in several countries, and Labticians in Ontario. So we have, I put a series of prospects that I'm showing you here that are 90% over in terms of forecasts, in terms of closing. So Saudi government, Saudi Maghrabi Hospital, Kekish. We did a lot of work in Saudi because the rate of the COVID is very low in the Gulf. So we actually put a lot of efforts there. LMC endocrinologist, we're just waiting for them to reopen their clinics. New Look, big optometry store in Canada. The UAE government, Panama government, Mexico government, Florida government. Most of these governments are shut down in terms of screening their diabetic patients, but they will reopen very, very soon, including the Quebec government. Essilor-Luxottica also is a very large optometry chain, and we have others. So I can't predict the numbers yet, but as you can see, we have enough very large prospects that we only need a few to make a difference in our approach here. So in summary, I just want to finish with my key points here, where first of all, our application for monitoring diabetics is in production. So it's not in development, it's in production. We are properly financed for the next 18 months. 64 million shares is not a lot of shares. I think we probably have a good hand on at least half of those. Very large markets, as you can see. Diabetes and cardiovascular is enormous. Uh, the revenues I have restarted. It is slow, but it's going to accelerate during the year as we go on. And we have very large prospects in the closing stage. And one of the key things also to remember is we have several additional applications that we will be rolling out using the same image. The next one will be to monitor patients that have hypertension. So we expect this to be in production in the next 2 or 3 months. And we're working on a very large development in terms of predicting somebody will have a stroke. So you will see, hopefully in January, the development of a clinical trial in the US and also in Canada on this technology, where we're using the same image. And from that image, we can actually predict if you will have a stroke, or in French, an AVC. So I want to just conclude with this. So if you have any questions, my 10 minutes is up in 5 seconds, I guess. So I'm ready to take questions.
Hi, Andre. Thank you so much. We have a couple of questions, and I invite other people to start asking them. One of the first questions is, who's your largest shareholder?
Well, right now, I think our largest shareholders are really very, I would say, rich individuals, to put it mildly. So these are net wealth individuals that own, I would say, around the 30% of the company. So we, some of them are publicly, you can see them. So Trish Coffin is probably our largest shareholder right now. We have other ones in Quebec and in a few in the US also. We also this year were able to bring a new fund behind Diagnos. So we actually were able to convince Claret in Montreal to pick up some significant amount of shares. And we are working with other funds to do the same in the new year.
Okay, and what is the percentage of directors and officers?
In terms of stock
Ownership, yes.
Yes, we're probably around 5%, a little bit less than 5%.
Okay. What is the revenue growth potential over the next 18 months?
So that is a tricky question. We feel that we're now at a stage where we're starting to sign new clients up. It is not going to be an accelerated growth until the COVID is under control. We're going to see a very slow and gradual growth starting mid-January. Even though there's vaccines coming in with the COVID, it will take probably 6, 7, 8 months to get people a vaccine and business to start again. But I can tell you one thing: we see it all around the countries we're in. And there's a huge need to have these diabetics and these people that have hypertension back in the clinics to monitor them. I mean, you will see people go blind. It is inevitable. So from a revenue, we think that we will start mid to end January, and then it will accelerate as the year goes on. We have some very large prospects, as you saw on the list. So it's difficult to give you a very clear timing, but everybody is very interested in getting these screenings done again and to move forward.
Maybe a better way to explain it, because we've had a couple of these questions, is what level of sales are required to break even, and is there a reoccurring revenue portion of your business model?
Yes, so the recurring revenue model is there. So when we follow or when our client monitors a patient, he has to be monitored every year till the end of his life, most likely. So that's one thing. And the beauty of this is that there is no cure for diabetes, and there is no cure yet for hypertension. So we are facing two very large markets, and I don't see any downfall. And with the additional applications we'll have, we can probably increase our revenues within the next 12 months. So 18-month forecast, we will be profitable. I have no doubt. And in terms of our expense rate, as you saw, so we only need to do about $1.6, $1.7 million in revenue to be profitable. So with all the cost cutting we did because of COVID and all that, we don't need to have $10 million in revenue to make some money. So that's the answer.
Okay. Here's another one. How many diabetic lives are you tracking for the Mexican government employees?
Well, before the COVID, we were tracking about 115,000 people. With COVID, everything has stopped because all the budgets, and by the way, it's the same in Quebec. I mean, all the budgets have gone to support the COVID reaction to this virus. So we had about 115,000 there that we monitor. In Quebec, we probably are close to 2,000 now. And again, if it wasn't for the virus, we would be monitoring probably around 5,000 patients.
Wow. What is the typical cost for a test?
So the test runs between around the $10 range. So it can go from $5 to $25, depending on the options that you take, as I show you the deployment in the slide there. So if it's only software and we don't have to provide cameras and technicians, such as in the optometry stores where they already have those, our transactions are at 90%, 99% gross margin. So we're trying to get to that level. Now that the governments have shut down because of the COVID, we went to the optometry, but the governments will come back very soon, I think. So.
Okay. Here's a question from, I'm pretty sure it's probably a shareholder because it's pretty complex. Will you be able to work with companies using CRISPR gene editing, and in theory, using this gene therapy technology to cure blindness? For example, Meditas Medicine Inc. Can you work with these type of technologies? Is there an advantage?
Well, we work with them. We're really a complement to what they do. The idea is to actually identify the patients that are ill, take those patients and bring them into these therapeutics solutions. So we are very close to Novartis, so we work very closely with them, and they're coming out with a new replacement drug for Lucentis, and that's going to be a very big market for them. So they think they can regain the $2 to $3 billion revenue lost against their competitors. So we are close to some of these therapeutics, and we want to change a little bit what we're going to do next year. Once this virus is under control and we can start revenuing, we will probably start some kind of a new division to work on the therapeutic side, like metabolic syndrome issues coming out from either diabetes or cardiovascular.
Well, which actually brings me to my next question. How many sicknesses can you monitor?
There's 46 diseases that we can monitor through the retina. Most people don't know that.
No,
so we're
not
only
at all.
looking at, we're only looking at 3 or 4 right now, but there's actually 46 different diseases that we can monitor through the retina. In the new year, I'll be coming back to everybody with some kind of announcement where we're going to be doing a strategic alliance with l'ETS in Montreal, and we're working there very hardly with the top AI guys there, and we are, I would say, we are working right now or trying new ways to identify these diseases very quickly within microseconds. And so this will be for the new year.
Wow.
Yep.
So interesting. Could you do something with the RAMQ to have an iPhone app that will let people take pictures of their eyes? And then I'm guessing the next step would be for you guys to analyze it, or does it require specific equipment?
Yeah. Today you cannot take a picture of the retina with a fundus with a cell phone, and the reason is that the resolution of the cameras on these cell phones are low. And they do take good pictures, but they cannot take medical pictures. So we are monitoring a bunch of companies that have adapters that you snap onto the back of the camera of the cell phone, but it's not there yet. They're probably 2 or 3 years off, but it will come one day, but it's not here yet. Oh, none of the doctors, none of the ophthalmologists would even look at those images because of the quality.
That makes sense. who's the practitioner that is doing the test? Is it a doctor, an optometrist, any
So good
type of
question. Yeah.
specialist?
Yeah. So most of our business are done with the endocrinologist in the hospitals and clinics, because those are the doctors that actually monitor diabetic patients. Okay. When we talk about cardiovascular, it will be most likely the general practitioner, your doctor, that will be able to actually send you an imaging site very close to where he is. Uh, in the optometry world, actually the optometrist actually takes the picture, or the technician, but the optometrists are actually well educated on the retina to actually monitor the patient that is diabetic or suffers from
Wow.
cardiovascular. And you can see the changes now. In Quebec, the optometrists are allowed to do tests for diabetics.
Which, speaking of Quebec, is the test paid by the RAMQ?
Today,
Is it
no.
covered? Okay. Is it covered by some insurances?
Most insurance company will cover the test. Okay. In Quebec, they are looking at the Quebec government is looking at doing a fairly large pilot and to screen 1 million patients over 3 to 4 years. So that would be monitoring maybe 200 to 250,000 patients over that period to actually look at the ways to not to reduce diabetes, because there's no cure for it, but at least to monitor from the retina perspective and making sure people don't go blind or actually go on to very, very expensive treatments.
Okay. What's the estimated cost of a stroke prediction trial? How many patients will be monitored, and what's the time period for that?
So we will be announcing, hopefully, it's forward looking, but hopefully we'll be announcing a clinical trial by the end of January. It will be a US site and a Canadian site. The cost is really not enormous, because the first phase we're going to do is monitor about 100 patients. So these are 100 patients that come in an ambulance at the hospital, had a stroke. They get stabilized, and within a day or two, we will take pictures of the retina, and we will associate what we believe are very specific factors in the retina. And if they do correlate, then we would go to a test of 1,000 patients in most likely 4 different locations.
Okay. What about technology patents?
Well, we don't have patents right now because we don't sell our software. So our software is all based in our servers, very well protected, and so nobody has access to the software. The only people who did have access are the FDA people in Health Canada, people who saw a significant piece of it. But normally we can trust them.
Normally. And here's a question. Is your new chairman active?
Very active, actually, because of our. I can tell a story because maybe it's out there, maybe not. But Vincent, his neighbor, is a very senior guy. He's the chairman of Essilor-Luxottica, and they've been friends for a long time. They live together. So when I approached Vincent to be part of the board, he actually just went to his neighbor and said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about something. Is related to the eyes, and it has to do with artificial intelligence." And within a few minutes, this fellow called Hubert Sagnière told him that this was really good. The timing was excellent. And actually, everybody will start using AI if they haven't started already. But a lot of new hospitals and clinics will be using AI to monitor diseases. And that's how Vincent got on board. So is he active? Absolutely. He brought us some very good shareholders, and actually has my largest prospect in his hands.
There you go. Wow, that's a great
Yes,
chairman to have. That's phenomenal.
yes, yes.
Um, how will you test people who have already had a stroke?
Actually, it's the same thing. If you have a stroke, the blood vessels, the small blood vessels, what they call microcirculation, get affected. They either will start bleeding in the retina, so they have to be monitored. This is well known in the medical field. So, but there's no system yet to take these patients and monitor them. So by using AI, it creates a wealth of new ways to monitor patients to actually try to save their vision in medium and long term.
Here's another one for the stroke trial. How long do you expect the stroke trial to take to enroll 100 patients? Once enrolled, how long until the results might be published?
Well, as you know, the test doesn't take, it takes, less than a few minutes to do. So the idea is to have the consent form from the patient that he understands what we're going to do with his data. We don't take his name and his address and all that. We just take the retina, and we have two independent ophthalmologists that will look and confirm of the results from the retina. So it's not very long. We probably can do 3 to 4 patients a day in a physical hospital. The clinical trial that we're going to be running in the US is one of the largest areas for stroke. So they have anywhere between 5 and 20 stroke patients coming in a day. So the idea is to make sure that we have the proper patients that come in, and we don't need to know if they're diabetic or not. So if they are, then it adds more significant information on it. But what we're going to get in terms of data from this is we're not just going to get the retina image. We will have access to the entire battery of test results from a stroke person going into a hospital.
Okay. Is there anywhere that we could watch a test being done? Do you guys have a video of that?
Yes, I think we have a video on our
on the website.
Good question. We had a video running. We were filmed by Radio Canada this year at the CHUM, so we have a video that's available for that.
Oh, too bad we could have done a test on Paul. That would be a great way to do it. Maybe next time we could have a live test here for everyone to see.
Yeah, your office is just around the corner from where I live, André, so we can do a test there one day.
And we can do that.
There you go. Yes. Maybe we can when COVID's over. That would be great. Paul, did you want to ask a couple of questions?
I got a couple of questions. Do you have an international sales force in place? Because now you're looking at Brazil, Mexico, Europe. I mean, you're all over the place.
So we will, we have changed our strategy. So we have partners now in several countries that we cannot be there all the time. So in Saudi, we cannot have a Saudi company. So we have a Canhur Medical Services there that have been working with us for 2 years. And that's why we're very confident and bullish that we're going to be announcing some very nice agreements very, very shortly on that. We have partners in other countries also. But what we do is, like in Quebec, we have our own, salesperson here, and we have another VP sales for Latin America. So our VP sales are now monitoring partners versus trying to be everywhere at the same time. And we will increase these number of partners this year. Labtician is one of our clients, but they're a distributor for us in Canada, except for Quebec, and so we're working very closely with them. Again, if it wasn't for the pandemic, it actually really slowed. Everybody who's in medical has been hit with this, but I know it's going to get resolved this year. So we're pretty happy that these vaccines are out.
Okay. Well, speaking of the pandemic, could your artificial intelligence, because you said earlier there's 46 things you can look at. Obviously, there's got to be a lot of things that are COVID related. Could you potentially predict that you somebody has the virus?
That's impossible for now. I mean, it's a blood related issue. It's like saying diabetics. The only real test is a blood test. But what we do is we can monitor after that the microcirculation, because we know that the COVID attacks the blood vessels, so the arteries in the veins. And the reason why the lungs get inflated, it's because the arteries and veins inflate. And so we'll be able to monitor the effect of the COVID on the patients. And that you will see later on, probably in the next 18 months. So we are looking at different programs to do this for governments.
Sophie,
do you have any more questions on your list, your side?
There's another one about, again, the stroke patients. Sounds like you could have the 100 stroke patients enrolled by end of March. How long to analyze the data and publish the results?
Data is not going to be long to analyze. So the medical protocol that we put together, and it was approved with the sites that we have, is not a very long medical protocol because we don't go inside the person. We analyze actually just the medical imaging. So it will probably take 60 to 90 days after that to have the reports done that we can publish.
Okay, well, I have one last question, Andre. What would it take to get you into every doctor's office as part of Health Canada's, regimen that RAMQ would pay for it, or all the provincial governments would pay for it, to be like a basic test for health?
Right. Before COVID, the Quebec government was looking at doing that. The Ontario government was looking at that. The Manitoba government were looking at that. So I think this is already underway. And I think, again, when this COVID is under control, you'll see the government really reacting, because we can save a lot of money to the government in this thing. And it's real savings. It's not a Mickey Mouse savings. We're talking about real savings, making sure patients don't go into very expensive treatment. So they understand that. And so the way we present it is really based on a cost analysis of the patients being sick, at what time do you bring them in? If you can manage and triage that, the governments will save hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's what I thought. I think, well, that's it for me. Sophie, I think we're done here.
Yes.
Andre, thank you so much. I mean,
Well, I'm happy to be the last one this year. Next year.
And we'll have.
Well, we're ending it off on a good note. So there you go.
Yes.
To everyone out there, thank you so much for everything. For all the people that have attended, all the companies, Andre, thank you very much for today. We're looking forward to a great year next year. Everyone, enjoy the holidays to the best of your ability. Please be safe, be careful, and we'll see you all next year. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
so long.